I'm giving you secondhand information because I'm more the age group of Daniel's parents than I am Daniel. But in preparing for his memorial service, I've really gotten to know the humorous side of Daniel through talking to all of his friends. Daniel had an infectious laugh that would just light up the room. You read some of the many posts that people would share their thoughts regarding Daniel on social media. Several of the posts use the term glue. He was glue. He was the glue that held friendships together. He was the glue that brought everybody together when he was home. So he was that type of personality, and partly because he was just fun. Daniel loved adventure. He loved camping. He loved guns. He was always shooting. He was always introducing friends to shooting. And he would shoot anything. Targets, tannerite. He was a hunter. Shoot deer, coyotes. That was a part of his life in a healthy way. We hear so much bad media about guns. Here's a man who loved them in a healthy hobby. Daniel loved classic movies, comedies, movies that my generation and your generation thought were hilarious in the 80s and 90s.
Like Stripes?
Princess Bride.
Oh, The Princess Bride.
Boy, I had a whole list of them, and now they're escaping me. The Three Amigos. Dirty Rotten Scoundrels.
Top Gun.
That one didn't come up. These are more comedies that he was into. So he would watch comedies that were before his generation, but he loved them. He'd have groups of friends over for movie nights, and they'd watch a classic old funny comedy. Part of his friend group consisted of our church here runs a cabin ministry. And so you get a lot of high school kids that are part of the cabin on weekends.
What is the cabin ministry?
The cabin it's kind of like a youth group, only instead of taking place at a church, it's a outreach for anybody to come to on a Saturday night here in Tremont. And every Saturday our church has a separate building off of Route 9 called the Cabin. And so Daniel served on cabin leadership when he was in high school. And you'll get a ton of high school kids on any given Saturday night that are there, one, to hang out, but two, to hear a gospel message, sing some worship, and then they'll always get together for a cabin after party. And the after party, they'll hang out at someone's house. When the weather's good, they might have a campfire or who knows what. Daniel hosted endless after parties, and when the weather allowed for them to be outdoors, there was always a massive bonfire with people hanging around. So it was his sense of adventure. Daniel was known to strap an old mattress behind his four-wheeler and take people mud sledding.
Mud sledding?
Yeah. Dragging it through the mud.
Okay. He sounds like a really, really fun guy. He sounds like, as someone who served in the Navy, you could appreciate some of what he went through. Mm-hmm. Some of it. He obviously served in the Corps, which is still part of the Navy.
Sure.
You were also a pilot, so you also kind of get to some of what possibly could have happened. Without delving into any of that, how has this affected you?
Coming from that Navy background, I'm used to this. People die. It's a hazardous profession. It's not common, but in spending 11 years on active duty, it would take me more than both hands to think of the number of people that I knew who were killed in mishaps. And so there's an element of where it's not a surprise. But then there's this weird mix of, then you add in the fact that Daniel was the son of close friends, and a Tremont local in a tight community. And all of a sudden, that which is typically not a big surprise, now it becomes shocking. So it's a weird mix of, yeah, I'm not surprised that happens. Thankfully, it doesn't happen much. Military aviation is hazardous, but they do a great job keeping it merely hazardous, not dangerous.
Well, and aerial refueling is an incredibly difficult thing on both ends.
Sure. It's like getting several people on a unicycle all together in unison, and they're rehearsed and they do it well. But when something small goes wrong, it can all of a sudden not be very pretty.
Is there anything else that you would like to share about Dan?
No, I know you had mentioned Doug, giving you really the spiritual element. A lot of who Daniel was really does come from that deep-seated faith. Daniel was fun and hospitable and entertaining. He reached out to the people who didn't have friends, to the newcomer, to the foreign exchange student. Those are the type of people Daniel reached out to. But that's a reflection of the God Daniel served. Daniel was helpful. He was always happy to show up with his pickup truck to help people, whether it's raking leaves, moving, just transporting an item to the dump. He was a servant, and again, it's a reflection of the God who he served. So a lot of these, when I look at Daniel and I see he was a great kid in a lot of ways, but it doesn't leave me thinking, "Wow, what a great guy!" and now it's over. That would be tragic. Tragedy has a bad ending. Daniel's death is not a tragedy because it's heartbreaking, but it does not have a bad ending. The plane crash was a tragedy, but Daniel's death is merely heartbreaking. It does not have a bad ending, though, because he's with the God who he loved, enjoying a better existence